today we start our chapter with another request by Oda's best friend, Noda Skywalker. And it's Zeus and Nami making some frogs dance. Speaking of Zeus, I think this chapter pretty much confirms that Nami will be keeping him, at least throughout the duration of this arc. The chapter is divided into 3 sections, and it's definitely one of those chapters that ends up creating more questions than answers, which I guess is kind of the point. The Sanji part is by far the best section of the chapter, and then you have 2 other sections that come after that, and those 2 other sections just left me thinking like, wait, where is this going? What is this? I personally would have wanted the entire chapter to be Sanji activating the raid suit and then Sanji versus page 1, just because I think it would have given the chapter a little bit of more focus. Plus, I think Sanji deserves a chapter. Again, I've said this before, but I think, in my opinion, this fight should have taken place back in Whole Cake Island versus, another one of Big Mom's children. It just kind of feels like the 2 sections that come after the Sanji part take away a little bit of the focus from the first moment. So, maybe have Sanji versus page 1 and then you just pick one of the 2 sections and go with that instead of having 2 different sections, one for Robin and one for Big Mom. But ultimately though, I don't think it's that big of a problem, because if you think about it, Sanji activating the raid suit is kind of more like a demo. I mean, he even says it in the chapter himself that he's going to have Frankie and Usopp work on it to make adjustments. So this definitely feels like it's the demo version of the suit. Now you would think that my favorite part out of the section would be the raid suit transformation and the feats that he gets, like the action part, but it's really not. My favorite part of this entire thing comes in the beginning, where we have this great character moment for Sanji. Before he puts on the raid suit, he has this moment of self-reflection in which he states, wait a minute, we're up against a Yonko here, and sometimes being stubborn doesn't always work when you're trying to save someone. But perhaps if I'm able to put my pride away, if I'm able to put it aside for one moment, I will be able to protect them. And so what's great about those thoughts is that they come as a direct result of the experience that he had back in Whole Cake Island. This is Whole Cake Island beginning to pay off, character-wise, for Sanji. So we have the full-blown Germa transformation, and as this is happening, he even says, simply wearing this suit doesn't make me part of them. So again, it's that newfound level of confidence that begins to be reignited. It kind of reminded me of the best bit of dialogue from Spider-Man Homecoming. There's a scene where Peter's feeling very insecure, he's lacking confidence, and he tells Tony, I need my suit, Tony, I'm nothing without the suit. And then Tony replies, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it. So you kind of have to learn to wear the suit without it wearing you. And I think it's precisely this reason, this confidence that Sanji has in himself, that he knows that wearing that suit does not define who he is. And so he just wears it, and we have the Sailor Moon transformation, Germa. We got Sanji fully embracing the suit and its powers. Law knows exactly what this is about. It's number 3, Stealth Black. And I'm curious about a couple of things here because, well, first of all, let me just say that it's a very good thing that Hawkins and Drake are not nearby, because Law says that the reason for why he knows what this Germa 66 outfit is because he used to read the comic strip because he grew up in the North Blue. Now the thing here is that both Drake and Hawkins also grew up in the North Blue, so they would know about the Germa 66 outfit as well. I'm a little bit confused as to why the suit is black and not yellow, because if you look at Sanji's past when he was with the Vinsmokes, each of the kids wore their respective colors. Reiju wore pink, Ichiji wore red, Niji wore blue, and Yonji wore green, and Sanji wore yellow when he was a kid. So I'm a little bit confused as to why, why he's the only one, Sanji's the only one that doesn't match his kid outfit with his suit color. But I'm guessing that the number 3 and Sanji's handkerchief that he has around his neck will be yellow. And I guess the color does match his nickname, Black Leg, which is the fighting style that he developed when he was training under Zeph, when he was living with him at the Baratier. But nonetheless, I actually went back, I looked at some of the images where Germa 66 was mentioned as part of a comic strip, and in that comic strip, there's no one ever wearing a black raid suit in those comic strips. But I guess, it would make sense because then that would be a spoiler. I actually wonder if Oda thought about this design, or at least part of the design, after he released that color spread that we got where Sanji's wearing this ninja outfit. Because I remember saying in that outfit, when I saw it, I was like, man, he actually looks cooler in this ninja outfit than in his actual Wano outfit. Right now, Sanji literally looks like a combination between Ichiji and Kakashi. So I kind of wonder if Oda's design for Sanji in that color spread actually helped him make up his mind about what the final product for the raid suit would look like. First, page 1 sees Mr. Osoba Mask up in a roof, bites off the roof, completely misses Sanji because apparently he can go invisible.
It's not technically invisibility. It's more like camouflage, like a chameleon. You know, it just kind of reminds me of the technique or the thing that Randall could do in Monsters, Inc., where he just kind of like blends into his surroundings and just kind of adopts the patterns, but he's not really invisible. He's just camouflaging himself. So it's the same thing that Sanji can do thanks to the special feature of the suit, thanks to the Germa 66 tech. I think it's a very cool feature, but it still brings up the following question, which was the same one that I had back when Shiryu was revealed to have Absalom's fruit, the invisibility fruit, which is in a world, you know, in the new world of One Piece, where we know that observation Haki exists and you can sense your opponent, right? I think it's pretty fair to question just how useful being able to turn invisible or being able to camouflage yourself actually is in the new world of One Piece because of the observation Haki that most of these top fighters possess. And because I've been watching the anime, this came to mind and I just want to mention it very briefly because it could be something very important. This could be something that both Shiryu and Sanji learn to do in the future, and that's the fact that when Rayleigh is training Luffy, training his observation Haki, Luffy is blindfolded. So he's swinging at Luffy, right? And the assignment was that Luffy needed to be able to dodge him 100 times. And he goes up to 99, and he actually gets to 100. But Rayleigh specifically says in that anime episode that in that 100th strike, he was actually concealing his presence. So he was doing something so that Luffy wouldn't be able to sense him. And Luffy replies, well, yeah, but I could feel that you were smiling. Now, the part where Rayleigh says that he was hiding his presence, that part is not canon. Okay. However, the answer that Luffy gives him about him feeling his smile, that technically is canon because there is a panel in the manga where Rayleigh says, oh, it looks like you're one of those people that can actually sense people's feelings. So I'm wondering if later down the road, this new concept of being able to hide your presence, you know, via suppressing your Haki or whatever it is Rayleigh did is going to be introduced in the series. Because that feature would be incredibly useful for characters like Sanji and Shiryu, given their powers.
Now there's an instant where before Sanji lands his first kick, page 1 is wondering like, oh, did he vanish? What happened? But then he looks down, like you see his eye, like just one panel, I think it's page 7, where you see page 1's eye like just going down. So I think that maybe he was able to detect him, but he was just not fast enough to avoid the kick. So I do think that, you know, he probably used observation Haki and he's like, oh wait, is that? And then, oh! So it was just way too late for page 1 to do anything at that point. Now, what I find even more interesting though, is that Usopp can't detect Sanji either at first. He's like, where'd he come from? And we know for a fact that Usopp, his observation Haki, like he can literally see auras of people through walls. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if he hasn't trained his Haki or if it's just like a long range thing when he can only see like auras that are like in the distance or what. But like, I mean, technically speaking, I would have assumed that Usopp would have been able to perceive Sanji's aura, but maybe he just wasn't focusing enough, like he needed to pay attention to it, because we do know that in order to use observation Haki to the best of your ability, you have to be calm and focused. And so I think maybe he was just surprised by the raid suit. He was too surprised to pay attention. But anyway, thanks to Thriller Bark, we all know that Sanji's dream, his lifelong dream, has been to obtain the power of becoming invisible so that he can spy on the girls. And so I'm hoping that we actually get another character moment, some character development or some character progression in the future where he actively decides to fight the temptation to use the power to spy on women or to spy on at least Nami and Robin. I hope that we get some closure off of that. Now I like how page 1 immediately after Sanji lands his first attack, he's like, okay, I have to go into my hybrid form. Historically, we know that Azoan's hybrid form is their strongest form because it combines the physical attributes of their Zoan fruit plus the physical attributes of their own human body. So it just adds both of the users' physical stats up and combines them into one. So I like his design because he looks kind of like a wrestling version of Godzilla. But the point is that, again, Sanji lands his attack and then immediately page 1 is like, okay, this guy's no joke. You know, I got to go into hybrid form. Now, again, this is clearly the demo version of the suit because of what Sanji said about, you know, Frankie and Usopp making adjustments to it in the future. But at the very least, at the minimum, like the base suit that we have here, it does the following. It boosts speed, because Sanji says that it has like, accelerators, which I think that was foreshadowed, and Niji made a comment about Sanji's speed before, so it would make sense that it would increase Sanji's speed. Defense is also increased because of the cape that he can use as a shield. Durability is increased because of the attack. We saw page 1 land an attack. He sent Sanji through some buildings, and he's like, oh, like, this suit is pretty durable, and I don't feel that much pain. So it increases durability, and of course it increases stealth. There is something that happens in the sequence that I'm not very clear on, and that's the fact that I'm not really sure if page 1 used armament Haki to attack Sanji or not, because you see his arms, and up until here, like, they're black. So I don't know if that's supposed to be Haki or if that's just the color of his arms when he's in hybrid form. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. I wish we could have seen Sanji's last attack land, instead of like Oda taking us away from the action with Law, Usopp, and Frankie. But, again, it's understandable because it's obvious that this is just a demonstration. Now, Law's group, the trio, is actually heading to where Zorro is right now. So it's going to be funny to have Usopp and Frankie brag to Zorro about Sanji's raid suit, and for Zorro to be like, what are you talking about? We go to Robin, who's wandering around the palace trying to find the hidden poneglyph. The road poneglyph, I'm assuming, right? And at one point she does come across these documents, and so I'm wondering if those documents might just be the blueprints that Frankie was looking for not too long ago. But ultimately the whole purpose of that scene is for her to get caught by this peculiar group of characters called the Oniwanban.
Now, you know how Ibizu was recently referenced in the manga because of that town that Zorro went to where everybody was smiling? Well, it turns out that Ibizu is actually part of a group of 7. In mythology, they're called the 7 lucky gods, or the 7 gods of fortune. Ibizu being the one that brings luck and fortune to the fishermen, right? And it turns out that this character that we see in this chapter here is actually very similar in appearance to another one of the 7 gods of fortune, and his name is Fukurokuhu. And so according to the mythology, Fukurokuhu is actually the one in charge of wealth, happiness, and longevity. And in fact, out of the 7, he is the only god of fortune that is capable of reviving the dead. And I actually don't know how much of that aspect is going to be incorporated into this character's personality or character traits. If you wanted to reach and go crazy with it, I guess you could say like, oh, he's going to revive Ryuma in his prime or something like that. That's reaching, right? The best I could hope for is for this character to have like some minor interaction with Brook later down the road, and there being a reference to him being based on this god of good fortune that is supposed to be capable of reviving the dead.
Now, I don't know if every single member of the Oniwabanchu is based on a character from Japanese mythology. They might be. I was just able to identify 2 more. One is Bensai Tien, which is the girl with the shamisen. She's also part of the 7 gods of fortune, and she's supposed to be like, I think, the goddess of music and wisdom. And then there's a catfish in this panel that's being subdued by another character, and that catfish is clearly a reference to Namasu, which is a catfish in Japanese mythology who is said to cause earthquakes if he is not subdued. And that's why he's being subdued in that panel. Now, call me crazy, but I actually think that all these characters will be allies pretty soon, because it's been foreshadowed that we need more people to be able to fight against Kaido's forces, and there's a whole bunch of warrior type characters here. So I definitely think that we're supposed to think that these characters are going to get Robin in trouble, when in fact they'll be assets. Finally, we reached the Big Mom part of the chapter at the end, and I have to say that I think it was hilarious how Chopper decided that it would be a good idea to go up to her, even while she's sleeping, to go up to her with his sword, as if that sword were to do anything. This is the most ridiculous part of the chapter for that reason, but also it's kind of funny. It's so ironic how we literally had an entire arc with a character that has the ability to manipulate memories. And so a lot of people were betting on changing or erasing Big Mom's memories about the Straw Hats so that she would just forget about them. And that never happened. So I kind of get the feeling that Oda found out that that's what the fans were predicting. And he was like, oh no, they're right. They're predicting me. I don't like this. I'm just going to change it up. Instead of having Pudding remove her memories, I'm just going to have her be dropped into the water, and then she won't remember anything. So the fans will be surprised. Because I think there's been at least one moment where Oda has stated that he doesn't really like it when fans figure out his stuff, right? But here's the thing, and I said this in my last review. If you look at the Sanji raid suit situation and this Big Mom plot point right here, I think both of these plot points were initially intended to be part of the whole Gig Island arc. But for whatever reason, he decided to sort of fast forward them and put them in Wano. Now the thing about Big Mom losing her memory is that for the most part, in stories, in fiction, amnesia kind of plays a role in the sense that it's kind of like a plot device, or it could be a plot device, because when somebody doesn't remember things, they make that character easy to manipulate. And I don't know if like her falling into seawater played a role in washing out her memories, but I think as of right now, until her children find her and remind her who she really is, she's pretty much a blank slate. She's a blank canvas for the Straw Hat allies to paint anything they want on her, really. So I do have to say that I view this as a plot device to limit Big Mom's role, Big Mom's intervention in Wano. So I definitely see her getting her memories back by the end of the arc, and then Luffy fighting her in Elbaf. Like, that's always been my stance. But at the moment, it's just kind of clearly a plot device to just kind of like, just get her out of the way. That, or making her a momentary ally for the Straw Hat Alliance in this arc. That's pretty much going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you did, the review if you did. I appreciate it. Oh, fuck. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your viewership. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and comment down below. Thanks again, guys. Catch you later. Bye.